Yesterday we filled out a table on page 28, and it was about a juice bottling factory, and technicians randomly selected bottles and marked them as pass or fail. So if you flip back, you'll see where we filled out that table yesterday. Today we're going to be filling out a joint and marginal frequency table. Okay, so this is where we put our percentages. How many tests that were, how many of these bottles that were tested in the morning passed? 14, right? Out of how many morning tests? 19. What is 14 out of 19? No, not minus. 14 out of 19 means 14 divided by 19. What is 14 divided by 19? Isn't that a lot of, didn't most of them pass if 14 out of 19 passed? So aren't you expecting a high percentage? But should we round that up to 7.4 because the number after 3 is 5 or greater? Okay, so, sorry, got choked on Tootsie Roll. How many of them in the morning failed? Out of how many that were tested? 19. That's not a lot that failed, right? So you're expecting a low number for this one. What's 5 out of 19? 0.26. What do you notice about these two numbers? They add up to 1. Guys, if 0.74 is 74% and 0.26 is 26%, what is 1 as a percentage? 100%. Well, wouldn't it make sense that the morning tests need to add up to 100%? Okay, now, in the afternoon, how many tests were conducted in the afternoon? 14. How many of them passed? That's a lot, right? So we're expecting a large percentage. What is the percentage? 0.71, right. So now by using your common sense of knowing they have to add up to 1, without even having to calculate, what does this have to be? 0.29. And that's what you would have gotten had you done 4 out of 14. Okay, so now let's go to evening. How many tests were done in the evening total? 17. How many of those passed? So what percentage is that? Well, and we rounded to 65. So 65%. So you could go ahead and go over to fails and do 6 out of 17, or you could just subtract that from 1, and what do you get? 0.35. Because they'll ask you about the percent. Okay, now, when it's time to do your marginal frequencies, the totals, you're going to do it out of the total of everything. How many tests were conducted? 50. So this time, everything will be out of 50. Like, there were how many total morning tests? 19. So what percent is that of the whole day's testing? 0.38, because 19 divided by 50 is 0.38. Okay, how many total tests were conducted in the afternoon? Okay, and out of the whole day's 50, what percentage is that? 0.28. And then how many tests were conducted in the evening? And out of the whole day's test, that would be what percentage of the test? 0.34. Okay, what do those three numbers add up to? 0.38, 0.28, 0.34. Well, not 100, but 1, which is 100%, right? Alright, so how do you think I find this total of pass? What percentage of the test passed in the day? 35 divided by 50, which is 0.7. Wasn't that the same thing as 0.70, 70%? So what percent of them failed if 70% of them passed? 0.30. And then in this total, think about it. Wouldn't it just be 50 out of 50, so 1? If that adds up to 1 and that adds up to 1? Okay, now that we've filled out that table, now we can answer some questions about it. Find the probability that a bottle was inspected in the afternoon given that it failed the inspection. What's the probability that a bottle was given in the afternoon and failed? 29%, right. Use conditional probabilities to determine on which shift a bottle is most likely to pass inspection. When will it most likely pass inspection? Morning. What probability, or what is the probability of passing if it is given in the morning? 74%. What's the probability of passing if it is given in the afternoon? And in the evening? 65. Okay? The next page you've already done. And so go ahead and flip over to page 31. Okay. The students in a seaside school are to have extra swimming lessons if they cannot swim. The table below gives information about the students in grades 7, 8, and 9. A says complete the table. Well, what do we need to do here to complete the table? Just, add it up. So what is the total number of students in grade 7? Right? Grade 8? And grade 9? So now that you've done that, can't you find out the total of all the grades? Right, 534. And then we could also find out the total that can swim and can't swim. How many can swim? 460. And how many can't? 74. Okay, so we did A. We completed the table. How many students need swimming lessons? 74, because 74 can't swim. How many students are there in 8th grade? Right. How many of the 7th grade students cannot swim? How many students in 7th and 8th can swim? You just add up the can swim, but only for 7 and 8. How many students are there all together in grades 7, 8, 9? Right. Okay, now what G wants us to do is a two-way relative frequency table, so the percentages. So first we want to look at what percentage of 7th graders can swim. So what are you going to divide here? 120 divided by 180, which is, so we'll round that to 0.67. What percentage of those 7th graders can't swim? Right, it just has to add up to 1, right? What percentage of the 8th graders can swim? Right, so what percentage can't? 0.06. Make sure you put that 0, because if you just put 0.6, that represents what percent? 60. Okay, grade 9, what percent can swim? 0.98. And what percent can't? 0.02. Okay, out of the whole school, what percent of them can swim? Here we go. Okay, what did you get for this one?
34.
Right, what did you get for this one? And this one? When you add those up, did you notice anything?
It was 1.01.
It adds up to 1.01, and it should only be adding up to what? 1 for 100%. Why did it happen? Why did it add up to 101%?
Because one of the fours
Well, we round it up every single time, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have to round every single time, you end up giving it a little more than it should be. If we hadn't rounded at all and we had typed in every single digit, it would have been exactly 1. But when you go rounding, whether it's up or down, it can mess it up a little, but it's close enough where we know we did it right. Okay, what about this percentage? Pay attention.
0.86.
0.86. And then this one?
0.14.
0.14. Oops, my board just went off. And then did those two add up to 1 for 100%? 86 and 14? It adds up to 1. Okay, so now that we've done the relative frequency table, we're going to answer a few more questions. We're going to skip H. Hold on, I'm almost done. What percentage of 9th grade students can swim? 9th grade students can swim? 98%. I mean, you can write .98, but that's 98%. What percent of students cannot swim? 14%. And what percent of students are 9th graders? 33%. Okay, this is what I want you to do for the next few minutes. I want you to try number 2. Okay, let me go ahead and show you some things though about it. You know how like up here in the previous question it gave us this table and then it gave us a separate one for all the percentages? Well, down here when you get to letter F it says create a two-way relative frequency table. Well, I didn't want to create a whole new table, so I just put like a little line down each one and that way I can put my percents on the right and that'll save you time. You don't have to do G, but I want you to answer the rest after you filled in the table. A principal of a school with 484 students, that's important information, collected information about how many of the students wear glasses. So use the information they gave you in this statement and the information they gave you in the table to fill in the rest of the totals and the elements and then answer the questions. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to do this. Okay, so the first thing that you could do is go ahead and total these two columns that have both of the boys and girls information. So how many boys and girls together always wear glasses? And how many never wear glasses? 305. Okay, now from there, what could you do next? Like how could you figure out this one or this one? Okay? Okay, right. You have to, at this point, use this total of 484 students. Then, you can find pretty much all of them from here. How many girls were surveyed total? 235. So, well, subtracted from 484, it means there's how many boys? Right. Well, if there's 249 total boys, we can now figure out how many of them sometimes wear glasses. And now that we have that, we can figure out the total of boys and girls who sometimes wear glasses. Right. Okay? So now let's answer these questions. We completed the table. How many boys sometimes wear glasses? How many students wear glasses some of the time? How many students never wear glasses? Are there more boys or girls in this school? Now we got to create a two-way relative frequency table for the above data. What percent of boys always wear glasses? What percent of girls always wear glasses? What percent of boys sometimes wear them? Yes, Charlie? Okay, so like to figure out how many boys always wear glasses, you just do the boys that always wear them out of the total number of boys. So like 40 divided by 249. And so to find out the boys who sometimes wear them, you do 48 divided by 249. So how do we figure out how many boys sometimes or never wear glasses? Right, which is? Right, and so now that we've calculated all of the percentages for boys, we need to check them and make sure they add up to what? 1. Okay, and those do. Now let's do the girls. How do you figure out how many girls sometimes wear glasses? Right, 55 out of 235, which is? And then how do you figure out how many girls never wear glasses? Which is? Right, and then you'll need to check that those three add up to 1 for 100% of the girls' data. Now, when you get to your totals like your row total and your column total, all of those have to be divided by what? Right, the overall total, 484. So what's 76 divided by 484? 0.16. What's 103 divided by 484? And 305 divided by 484? 0.63. And then all three of those should add up to 1. Okay? All of them will add up to 1. And then for this one, how do you figure out how many boys were surveyed total? Or percentage of them? Right, 249 out of 484, which is... And so, what is the percentage of girls that were surveyed? Right. Now that we have the percentages, we can answer H, I, and J. What percentage of girls never wear glasses? 61%. What percentage of students are boys? Right. And what percentage of students always wear glasses? 16%. Does that make sense? Yeah, we're not going to do that one. Okay, your homework for this weekend is going to be the review sheet that I'm about to hand out.